Hi guys, I want to show you a new tool called Boole, which allows you to add and subtract shapes together in different ways. Please follow along with me. I'm going to make a wheel of Swiss cheese. So let's start with a cylinder here and add some segments, some rotation segments. I'm going to take it up to, let's go 44 so the lines are smoother. Let's go here to display, Giraud shading with lines. And the cylinder has a slice command on it right here. Let's turn on slice and set the angle to 300 or close to that. Then I'm going to click on caps and turn on fillet, and let's make that radius a little bigger to round the edges. Turn it up to 10 centimeters. That looks good. And we're going for something like this that has these bubble pockets cut out of it. I'm going to put in a sphere here, make it smaller, and then if we come here to our first set of green tools and choose Boole, the main object here that I want to keep is the cylinder, so I'm going to drag that as a child of the Boole. And then the second object that I want to, in this case, cut out is the sphere. So drag that until your cursor looks like this, where the arrow's pointing to the left. And there you go. We have a cutout now that looks like a sphere, and we can move that around. If you click on Boole, you'll see that by default it is set to A subtract B. So whatever is listed first under the Boole is A and then B. But I'm going to click back on the Boole here. You can also combine parts together, or you can intersect parts. If I click on that, this is where the sphere and the cylinder actually overlap each other. So I end up with that. And then if you choose A without B, it's similar to subtract, except it does not leave anything there inside. It just hollows out something for you. By comparison, here it is with A subtract B. It has that inner wall of the sphere in there. Now let's add a few more of these spheres to make it look a little more like Swiss cheese. So I'm going to use Control C and Control V for copy and paste to make another sphere. Let's put that one over here. But watch this. If I try to add this to the Boole, nothing happens, and that's because Boole only works with object A and object B. So what do you do if you got multiple things that you want to cut out? The answer is you can group them. So let's just highlight those two, right click and choose group objects, or I could press Alt G. So now we have the cylinder interacting with a group of spheres. Go ahead and add 6 or 7 more spheres to your scene, make them different sizes. Well, here I am adding more spheres to the scene. I am resizing them using Control C and Control V to copy, Control C and then Control V. Puts a new sphere right on top of the old one that I copied. Let's put that in here, move it until it comes out a bit here, resize it. And that's enough for this assignment. Let's make sure all of these new spheres that have been created are part of this group. And here's a couple more. Before we save this, let's make a material. Come up to your material manager, click that button, and then click the plus sign, And we have a new default material. Let's double click that. Go to the color channel. This stands for hue. This stands for saturation, or how much color. Hue means color. So let's pick something in the yellow range and turn up the saturation not too much. And then the value is an extra control you have over the final color. Go ahead and pick your color of cheese. And let's do one more thing. Let's add a little bit more texture to it. If you come down here to the bump channel, turn that on, make sure it's highlighted. Go to the texture drop down, choose surfaces, and let's go with this one called rust. And you can see it puts a slightly different, it takes this picture and uses it to create an artificial texture map on here. Let's leave it at 20%, close it, and drag it onto our Swiss cheese. And if we want to see a higher quality version of that, we can hit the render button right here. And I'll tell you what, I think Swiss cheese is a little more white, so let's turn the saturation down more. You can experiment with these settings as you like. Once you have it, go ahead and choose File, Save Project, and name it Swiss cheese. Next, let's make a sphere with a number cut out of it, and whatever number you use is up to you. So I'm going to go New Project, put in a sphere, and give it some more segments. Let's double it so it looks smoother. 32. Let's go up to 40. And let's take a look at the lines. I could just type N and B on my keyboard. Next, let's go to the text tool and go ahead and type our number. We'll just do the one that is shown in the video, and then click in your viewport to change it. If your font is too decorative, this one's fine, but your font needs to be fairly simple. I'm going to try to choose a font. Let's go with Boole Tool. Yeah, that's fine. Then I'm going to get my scale tool and drag in my screen to shrink that down. Get the move tool, get the move tool, and move that here. And let's see how we're looking. And the other thing is, to really cut that in well, we need to make sure it's extruded longer. So I'm going to come back up here to the text, click it again, and on the depth, let's give it about that much depth. I want to be sure that it fully intersects with that sphere. Then I can get the move tool and drag it in farther. Let's go a little farther. Now let's put the boole in. The first object I want is the sphere, and then the text I want to be object B, and the cutout is made. Now one thing that does change how this object turns out is the polygons. We did add more subdivision to this, so we have a lot more polygons. Your sphere also has a type drop down here. If you choose some of these different types, well, not hemisphere, but like tetrahedron, it gives you different polygons. And so for this project, you can just experiment, but it will change your segments as you turn it up. You just don't want too many segments because it'll bog down your computer. You just try to find that happy medium. Now for my text object, I am going to go down to Basic, Display Color, Custom, and pick a different color. Let's just choose red. And you'll notice that the text does not turn red. By the way, I've added a sky into my scene. Just choose that right here, and that lights up your sphere. Let's hit render. And you can see no red. So what happens is some objects in Cinema 4D need to be simplified before they have color or materials put on them. When we can do that by right-clicking on the text and choosing Current State to Object. That means take the text as it currently exists and turn it into editable objects. And it gave me a bunch of folders here. When I open those up, I can find 3 polygon objects, one for each text character that I have, including the period. I'm going to take those out, just drag them off here to the side, and highlight all of these null object folders and delete those. And then the text, I don't really need to save that anymore. I could hide it like this in case I wanted to keep it as a backup, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'll go ahead and just hit delete on my keyboard. And then we've got 3 objects here. We need them to be one object. So I'll select all 3 of them, right click and choose Connect Objects and delete the original objects. So let's do that. So there's my new connected object, and it deleted the other 3. Let's now add that back into the Boole, highlight it, and now colors work. Go ahead and save this as sphere with text.